Hey, good Wednesday morning, everybody. BAM Weather Meteorologist Bret here, giving you a long-range forecast update. Guys, I hope y'all are doing well this morning. Guys, the focus of today's video is going to be the change in the pattern that is occurring as we work into the last 10 to 15 days or so of July. We'll time that out, but certainly want to acknowledge right off the bat, we'd called for a bigger heat wave potential mid-July. It is going to be hotter than normal over the next 7 days, so at least that part is occurring, but more notable heat, more extended heat, not looking to verify. We're going to talk about why that is, what's happened, and why that initial call does not look to pan out in today's video. So always want to be upfront and honest with you all. These long-range forecasts are not always cut and dry. They're challenging, and when we do get it wrong, we get it right a lot. When we do get it wrong, we want to make sure to explain why and ultimately what to expect and how we will learn from it moving forward. And so taking a look, starting out with our local radar on the Clarity platform, we do have some storms moving through parts of the central Indiana and the Ohio Valley this morning. We can zoom out and go take a look here at our continental United States radar, take a broader picture of things, guys, and you can see just messy rain and storms all across parts of the Ohio Valley, but quieter for the country as a whole in general this morning as we zoom some things out. In terms of how we expect the pattern to evolve over the next 2 weeks, here's a look at that change we talked about. Again, next 7 days for much of the Ag Belt, especially for the Ohio Valley, warmer than normal. 3, 4, 5 degrees warmer than normal on average, and it should continue to be active here across the middle part of the country and into the Midwest. Still messier the further east that we go, though I do think some rain opportunities for the lower Ohio Valley will be on the table. We'll touch more on that here in a moment. Going into that week 2 time frame, here's that change. And again, guys, where I think that things especially have shifted. Number one, again, the warmth not lasting as long and being a little bit further east in the short term, but this front we have for the middle part of week 2 just continuously trending stronger on the data. Now, I would not be shocked if there were still some warmer trends on the East Coast out ahead of this front. But regardless, the Ag Belt looking to be cooler than normal in this week 2 timeframe, especially mid to late in the period. As we take a look here at precipitation, we'll also be active with that front, guys. If we look here, you can see much above normal rains continuing for parts of the southern plains into parts of the Midwest. I still think it's a little bit messier further off to the east, but there will be some rain opportunities in there. Taking a look at rainfall from the European model, this is out through the 21st of the month, so the next 12 days or so. Take a look at what it's trying to do. Now, I do think it may be underdone in here. I do think there are some rain opportunities in here late this weekend into next weekend. But I continue to note if there's a particular area right now that has been drier, been messier in terms of the rainfall totals, it's kind of through here. And this region in general looks to continue to be a little bit less active than the surrounding areas as we work over the next 10 to 12 days or so. And so certainly need to be keeping a very close eye on just this region here in general, I would say. How much rain ends up falling through this period, I think, will be key because it does get cooler, but summer's not over yet. We still have a long way to go here. These areas have gotten a little bit drier. They've only had messy rainfall opportunities in the forecast. Again, we're seeing some of that this morning. We saw some of that last night, but soil moistures, they're below normal in here. And so this is an area that we continue to monitor closely as we work ahead. In terms of temperatures compared to normal over the next 10 days, let's take a look at this evolution and what starts to happen as we work these cold fronts in. Again, in the short term, guys, we're warmer than normal in a pretty widespread fashion, guys, as we work towards Friday, Saturday, and into Sunday. Pretty widespread. In some cases, much above normal temperatures for the eastern Ohio Valley, Great Lakes, and into the Northeast. We have a little front here that will impact central parts of the country, and we warm back up early next week. So generally speaking, next 7 to 8 days for the eastern Ag Belt will be warmer than normal, and in some cases, much above normal. But note what starts to happen by the 16th of the month. We start to work in a stronger cold front for the plains, below normal temperatures beginning to arrive here. And then as we work towards the 17th and the 18th, that will start to bleed further down to the south and to the east into areas like the Ohio Valley and the Great Lakes that have been more consistently hotter than normal. And so, again, next 8-9 days for the eastern Ag Belt, East Coast, hotter than normal. And again, that part of the forecast painting out, But the more notable heat, the longer duration of the heat, not looking to pan out, with a cooler pattern arriving by about the 18th of the month or so. So what happened? What has allowed for the heat idea to fail, or at the very least be much shorter lived than initially thought? Number one, noting out in East Asia, some stronger fronts beginning to develop that was not initially modeled. If you've been with us for a while, 6 to 10 days after we get a strong cold front in East Asia, it typically shows up in the United States. I think part of this is related to tropical activity that was not modeled very well. We're not seeing a recurving typhoon, but the tropical activity has influenced the pattern out here, and it's made model data struggle a little bit. So that's reason number one. Reason number two, and probably the bigger reason, is the tropical forcing. The MJO here, if you take a look here, at where we've been, it's been in this circle, which just basically means it's been weak, or what we call dead. It has not been active. It has not been a big influence on the weather patterns. The trend over the past several days has been to emerge the MJO here, guys, across the maritime continent, which means thunderstorm activity developing in the maritime continent and then pushing into the West Pacific. MJO phases 4, 5, 6, eventually phases 7 and 8 down the road. But for the week 2 time frame, feeling the influence of 5 and into 6. Why is that important? Well, let's start with phase 5. If you take a look, here's our weak global wind state, which was the idea behind the hot forecast. It does favor some above normal temperatures in the eastern half of the country with MJO phase 5, which we are seeing the next 7, 8, 9 days, but it's not as notable. And then if you take a look at what happens, again, you can see similarities here, next 7 to 8 days compared to what this analog looks like. The bigger issue is as we get into MJO phase 6, which looks to happen by the middle part of week 2, this is a more widespread cooler risk. And actually, we talked a little bit about this. If there was a risk to the hot forecast, it would be this MJO phase 6. If the tropical forcing, the MJO, were to turn a little bit stronger, a little bit more notable, a little bit faster, and that's exactly what's happened. And so, going back, we favored the heat based off of our weak global winds. That has not changed. What has changed is we're feeling more of this phase 6 influence, which subsequently is leading to the week 2 forecast to be cooler. You can see the similarities here to the 8 to 15 day time frame compared to this MJO phase 6 analog. The question beyond this, into the weeks 3 and 4 time frame, okay, does the cooler air linger? Phase 7 is not as cool, but it certainly isn't very warm either. It has the core of the warmth kind of in the western part of the country. You work into phase 8, again, generally seasonable to cooler in the eastern half of the country, warmer, maybe far south, and again, the Pacific Northwest. It's not really till we get into MJO phase 1, which would likely be more so into the week 4 time frame, where we start to warm the pattern back up. We take a look at the North Pacific. This was another thing, which was really at the time the only thing that would have forecasted this cooler stretch. It did well. The North Pacific pattern did well seeing this idea, and so if we go with that and look at that moving forward, it continues to support some of the cooler air out through late July, towards the end of the month. Would maybe suggest into early August we can start to warm things up a little bit. Still not super warm in the Midwest, Northern Plains, but at the very least maybe some more seasonable to warmer than normal temperatures returning in early August, which if you take a look at the CFS Weekly, I think it actually shows the idea pretty well here. It's seasonable to cooler for a good portion of the ag belt, warmer in the west, maybe some warmth still in the coastal areas, the northeastern part of the country, but all things considered, not a notable hot signal and generally seasonable to cooler for the ag belt. You go into this week 4 time frame, again, not notable, but maybe starting to warm things up at least a little bit as we start out the month of August, but ultimately will depend on the timing of the tropical forcing in the MJO. The slower we move through phase 8, the longer the cooler air will linger around. If we're into phase 1 a little bit faster, this warm-up will happen a bit faster. I think the bottom line right now is week 2 and week 3 in general, probably cooler than normal, at the very least more seasonable to cooler across the ag belt as a whole, maybe some warmth in the coastal areas, keeping cooling demand above normal. You go in that week 4 time frame, we probably slowly begin to moderate and warm things back up heading into the month of August. And if you remember the analogs Michael showed yesterday for August, there is support. If you go back to this North Pacific pattern signal, there is support for the eastern United States warming up in August. And so this is probably the start of this as we work towards the first week of the month. Guys, that's all I have for today's forecast. If you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Have a great rest of your day.